Hello everyone, I am Manish Sunwar from Brisk and today I'll be discussing about CSS. So without delaying time, let's start with the introduction to CSS. What is CSS? Cascading Style Sheets, fondly referred to as CSS, is a simple design language intended to simply the process of making web pages presentable. CSS handles the look and feel part of a web page. Using CSS, you can control the color of the text, the style of the fonts, the spacing between paragraphs, how columns are sized and laid out, what background images or colors are used, layout designs, variations in display for different devices and screen sizes, as well as a variety of other effects. CSS is easy to learn and understand, but it provides powerful control over the presentation of an HTML document. Most commonly, CSS is combined with the markup languages, that is HTML or XHTML. CSS is a cornerstone technology of the World Wide Web alongside HTML and JavaScript. CSS is designed to enable the separation of presentation and content, including layout, colors, and fonts. This separation can improve content accessibility, provide more flexibility and control in the specification of presentation characteristics, enable multiple web pages to share formatting by specifying the relevant CSS in a separate .css file, and reduce complexity and repetition in the structural content. Now let's move to the evolution of CSS. Like a young prodigy, cascading style sheets showed great potential from the start. While it struggled to find compatibility in its adolescence, the styling language has since overcome the majority of its obstacles and proven itself as a cornerstone of web technologies. The internet officially introduction to CSS was back in 1996 when the World Wide Web Consortium released it into the world. CSS was not the only styling language in development at that time, but the very element of cascading and developing sequence is what set it apart from the rest. CSS was originally designed to maintain the ideal of HTML as a content delivery thing that has semantic meaning, said Tab Atkins Jr., a spec hacker at Google, in a web platform podcast, particularly so machines can understand. Style sheets weren't entirely new, having been used in some capacity since standard generalized markup language was developed, but applying to them web was novel at that time. CSS was nothing flashy at first, but its impact was immediate. CSS2 in May 1998. Looking to build on CSS1's properties, the first working draft of CSS2 was released in November 1997 and became a W3C recommendation in May of 1998. This version expanded the capabilities of properties and made them more dynamic. For example, there was hover and the infamous and now obsolete text shadow effect. CSS 2.1 in June 2011. However, the W3C no longer maintains the level 2 CSS recommendation. Instead, CSS 2.1 was introduced in 2004 and became a W3C recommendation in June 2011. This revised level solved most of the bugs with CSS2 and built on and replaced the previous version. CSS 2.1 increased in complexity. It allowed the definition of parent-child relationships, gave designers and developers the ability to define multiple class names on a given element, and introduced perhaps what would become the first test of responsive design, the font size adjust property. Presentations could now be tailored to specific media devices including handheld devices, braille devices, visual browsers, printers, and oral devices. This was the beginning of what would become CSS3. CSS3. CSS3 has been in development since 1999 and is the version most of us are familiar with now. The biggest difference here is introduction of modules, each with its own capabilities and extended features, some of which have replaced previous aspects of CSS 2.1. Since 2011, the W3C has formally recommended 4 modules with numerous others in various stages of development. Essentially, this is the breakdown of the entire CSS language as modules become independent from one another. Formally recommended modules include 1. June 2011 Color, 2. September 2011 Selectors Level 3, 3. September 2011 Namespaces, 4. May 2012 Media Queries. Media queries are perhaps one of the most revolutionary modules responsible for the responsive design that has become standard in today's web world. Here is an Now let's move to the advantages of CSS. CSS saves time. You can write CSS once and then reuse same sheet in multiple HTML pages. You can define a style for each HTML element and apply it to as many web pages as you want. Pages load faster. If you are using CSS, you do not need to write HTML tag attributes every time. Just write one CSS rule of a tag and apply it to all the occurrences of that tag. So less code means faster download times. Easy maintenance. To make global change, simply change the style and all elements in all the web pages will be updated automatically. Superior styles to HTML. CSS has a much wider array of attributes than HTML, so you can give a far better look to your HTML page and comparison HTML attributes. Multiple device compatibility. Style sheets allow content to be optimized for more than one type of device by using the same HTML document. Different versions of a website can be presented for handheld devices such as PDAs and cell phones or for printing. Global web standards. Now HTML attributes are being deprecated and it is being recommended to use CSS. So it's a good idea to start using CSS in all the HTML pages to make them compatible to future browsers. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope that you understood what CSS actually is. So if you like this video, please like it and please subscribe my channel to get notified when I upload the new videos. Thank you very much.